Minnie to her Christmas party. I'm pretty sure Artemis will have a field day when he finds out of who. But I hope she doesn't make me do anything else.
Oh, Loki! Hello everyone, this is Dragon Videos here, and I thought that since it's November where you have Dia de los Muertos as well as Thanksgiving, I thought it would be cool to talk about more of family with this beloved film. Coco is an instant family classic that focuses on a young boy named Miguel Rivera, who goes on a wild and crazy adventure with a man known as Hector. Along the way, Miguel's trying to figure out this huge problem. His family put a ban on music, and he doesn't know why. And the sad thing is, he's the only one who's interested in music and wants to be a musician. And no, this is not the book of life, ladies and gentlemen. Anyway, Coco is basically focusing more about what it means to be a loving family. And for some of you who are wondering what Dia de los Muertos is about, it's a Mexican holiday that's from late October to early November, or November 2nd if you are more familiar with it. Anyway, this is a celebration of death. But here's the thing. You've seen decorations of sugar skulls, bright and colorful skeletons wearing different kinds of outfits, flowers. This is basically celebrating death and also in hopes of seeing loved ones again. And this is very important because it's sort of where it's this belief where the living and the dead come back together and meet. And in a lot of ways, this is very fitting for Dia de los Muertos because it was going through that time. Also, another thing that was important to talk about is that this film, Coco, highlights that part of the Hispanic culture as well as just Mexico in general. But putting that aside, I'm going to focus more on the family dynamics of the Rivera family, both the good and the bad. I know for some people it may seem strange to talk about that, but if you think about the stuff that Miguel's going through, as well as the plot, I feel like it's very important to talk about it, especially during this day and age where family is becoming more important as well as trying to be together. So I'm going to talk about the ups and downs of this film, more specifically about the Rivera family. Without further ado, let's begin! Now, not every family is going to be perfect. There's going to be ups and downs and everything in between. And with the Rivera family, it's no exception. And the media does a very good job of showing those sorts of things. Well, if written properly in a realistic setting. Anyway, the head matriarch, Abuelita Malena, definitely means well for the entire family, but the problem is that she's very controlling and gets very hostile if something is music related and wants to run things like her great grandmother did, Mama Melda. It was up to the point where she even smashed the guitar that Miguel had made himself after he said about the whole "I don't care" of being on some stupid ofrenda. I get it, her feelings were hurt, but she just smashed it to bits. And personally, I kind of have a problem with that. Technically, it felt like at that point, Abuelita Elena didn't exactly care of what Miguel had to say. And plus, in that scene where he finally was saying he wanted to be a musician, it took him a lot of guts to say that to his family. And I know that Elena just wants to prevent the tragedy that happened to her grandmother all those years ago. And it is understandable that Mama Imelda was also meaning well. She just wanted to make sure that everyone was safe from the tragedy that had befallen on her when the father and her beloved husband left to play for the world. But in some ways, it did more harm than good. And of course, it wasn't exactly being very fair to Hector. You do feel bad for the poor guy. I know that we shouldn't justify the fact that he left his family, but the fact that he tried to go back, it was pretty upsetting that Imelda didn't exactly let him explain himself or hear him out. She was too wrapped up in her emotions and the toxic mindset that was placed upon her. Mind you, it was the 1940s and not many people had many support at that time for additioning mental health. And Miguel is a good kid. He definitely saw that at this point, it was aggravating that these rules were restricting of who he is, as well as hurting the relationship he has with his family. He's even up to the point where he just addresses how messed up it really is. He suggested that he shouldn't have to pick sides, they should support each other, which in a lot of ways is true. However, it does become clear later that they should be mad at Ernesto de la Cruz. Though Ernesto, which is Spanish for Ernest, is definitely anything but. He was so greedy and desperate, he was basically reduced to stealing Hector's songs and killing him. This guy was practically the reason why this toxic issue with the Rivera family had happened in the first place. He was very two-faced and was obsessed with fame and glory up to the point where he was not above hurting his own best friend in order to get it. And it was also because of his selfish actions that the family was struggling to deal with music as well as moving forward with their lives. Now, as I said before, Abuelita Elena kind of means well. She definitely is very sweet and affectionate towards Miguel. Of course, he's her grandson, but also at the same time, she is very caring towards her mother, especially when there was the one scene where Mama Coco was freaking out on the ofrenda, and she tries her best to comfort her. And of course, as I said before, I also knew that Imelda was only just trying to protect her family. But I think in some ways she soon realizes that trying to ban music was also trying to ban the one thing that also made her happy in her life. I mean, true, she was hurt by Hector, but it didn't exactly justify denying music in her entire family altogether. But I'm glad that over time she is slowly overcoming that. As well as, one of the things you like about Hector is that he's very caring. He tries to make sure that, despite his selfishness, that Miguel doesn't get into dangerous situations and tries to comfort him like he would with any other father. And of course, he really wanted to get back home. It wasn't his fault his friend decided to stab him in the back, as well as the fact that he just wants to make amends. He even went as far as to take responsibility for leaving his family the way he did. And of course, Miguel's a very good kid. He didn't want to lie to his folks, and he didn't want to hurt the family that he cared about. But in a lot of ways, he was struggling to understand what it really means to be family, as well as understanding what it really means to have a loving connection with them. He wasn't too selfish about his dream, and he wants to share it with the people he cares about. But it felt like, from the way everyone treated him, it didn't seem like he had much of a choice. And of course, smashing the guitar was practically a nail in the coffin. But the positive is that Miguel did everything in his power to make things right with the family, as well as when he learns the truth about their past, he goes as far as to fix things and make it right. Miguel really is a very wonderful character, as well as the fact that Coco just gives us a reminder of what it really means to be loving towards your family and friends. So, in a lot of ways, we can definitely learn a lot from Coco as well as Miguel of what it really means to be family, what it means to follow your dreams, as well as what it means to have a good relationship with your family. So, folks, these are just my thoughts, and I want to hear yours. What do you think of a family dynamic in Coco? What do you think of the Rivera families and their banning music altogether? Let me know in the comments below. Also, do a like and subscribe. And if there's anything else in Disney you want me to talk about, like villains or symbolisms, let me know. This is Dragon Videos, signing off.